Hello, it's Mark. It's Thursday night, and you know I like to do my local live vlogs, but normally about 6:30 before Scouts. But it's half term this week, and you're probably looking at me thinking he's got a little co-host there. He's got a special guest, and it's a man who looks very familiar if you're in UK Scouting and international Scouting actually. So I think what I'd do, the best thing, is just to let John, my guest, introduce himself and tell us who he is, where he is, what he does.
Oh gosh, thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. I'm John May, and I've been a scout for a very, very, very long time, and clearly there's less and less and less hair on top of my head, so it just shows how long I've been involved in scouting. I've been a Cub Scout leader. I've been involved with venture scouting back in the day. I was the international commissioner for the UK Scouts for a few years, and then they decided to kick me up to the World Organization of the Scout Movement, where I ended up being the vice chair of the World Organization for a bit, and I now have the privilege of chairing the Board of Trustees for Scouts here in the UK for Oxfordshire, one of our counties. And I'm also president of something called British Scouting Overseas.
What a title! And there's me complaining that I'm group scout leader, and training advisor.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot, but you've got some amazing roles there, John. And just flicking through your Facebook and your Twitter, your photos are amazing about jet setting around the world and stuff. So how did it go from just being like a scout leader in your group to the position that you are in now?
I was a cub leader in Bristol. In fact, I was a cub leader because I was doing my Duke of Edinburgh's Gold Award and I needed to do some service. So I thought, oh well, I'll go and help with the Cubs. And I ended up, for one reason or another, not as an assistant leader, but as Cub Scout leader, as RKler. And I was working in a part of Bristol that at that time was quite tough. Young people leading some very, very tough lives, and scouting for them was Cub Scouting for them was a wonderful way to open their eyes to what was going on beyond their streets, really. And that got picked up by some people at Baden-Powell House at headquarters in London. And that led to me being asked if I would get involved in something called the British Youth Council. And then I was invited to go on an international conference, which, as far as I remember, was in Cardiff. So I was pretty excited to be going. International. Yeah. Well, went over the Severn Bridge. It was anyway, I mean, the long and the short of it is that as a result of that, I got invited back to go somewhere else, and then a bit more after that, and the whole thing snowballed. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I've had an amazing set of experiences around the world over the last 30 years or so.
And you pop up on telly every now and then. I see things. I'm on YouTube and I do a little bit of research. Oh, I recognize that face. Bit more hair. But no, there. It's John. Right, let's see who's in the house tonight. We've got Clive from Louisiana. Hey, Clive, how you doing? Andy is from Wigan. And tuning in from Forest Dean. Justin. Hey, Justin. Sam. Andy, lovely John's teddy bear behind him. What's the story? So you don't follow John on Facebook, do you, Andy? Come on, John. Let me make you big, and you can show everyone your teddy bear and tell us.
Oh well, that's Ben. Ben looked after me all the way through lockdown, and he has his own Facebook page, which it's a particularly well followed page. And Ben's antics during lockdown amused me and amused a few other people as well. I think my favourite picture of him, if I have to find it, is when he accompanied me to Tesco's to do our shopping halfway through lockdown. And we didn't quite get mobbed in the car park because, of course, we were all socially distanced. But you have to be socially distanced 3 meters from a bear. But yeah, he's a pretty special person.
Okay, each to
I know, I
whatever
know.
makes you happy, isn't it? Whatever makes you happy.
He's
People-
reading. He's reading Cubs to the Rescue because he's a good scout.
Oh dear, that's what I'm saying. Right, I was just flicking through some random photos of yours, John, and I just want to see if you can explain who, what, why, when. Let's see
All
this
right,
one.
I'll have a go. Oh gosh, well that's a certain Baden Powell, a grandson of the founder. That's both of us, I think, just a few years ago, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, at the World Scout Jamboree in America.
Nice. Right, this one.
Yeah, you can see me at the back.
Back left, yeah.
Yeah, back left. That's Her Majesty the Queen opening the offices of the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award in London. And in fact, it's a unique space because at that time, downstairs in the offices were the Commonwealth, the Royal Commonwealth Society, and upstairs was the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award. And we got a call from Buckingham Palace saying, well, you've had your offices refurbished. It would be wonderful if Her Majesty and the Duke might come and open. Can we do something a bit special? And I said, well, obviously, I'd be absolutely delighted, up for anything. And they said, well, how about if you have two plaques? One can say, Her Majesty the Queen, as patron of the Royal Commonwealth Society, accompanied by the Duke of Edinburgh, opened the Royal Commonwealth Society offices. And how about if your one says, the Duke of Edinburgh, as founder of the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award, accompanied by Her Majesty the Queen, opened your offices. So we're the only building in the world with two plaques, rather than just one for the same day, with Her Majesty and the Duke playing box and cocks.
I was going to say that's greedy, but it's not, is it? That's just, yeah, that's amazing.
No, it was great. No. It was really great. And if you look back at that picture, you'll see my chairman as well, Prince Edward, standing at the back.
Right at the back, yeah.
And he was that day due to be in Moscow for the Winter Olympics. So that tells us how long ago this was. That must have been 8 years ago, I suppose.
Yeah.
But he didn't go because we were diplomatically choosing not to be in Moscow. So he asked, not that the chairman has to ask, but he asked if he could come along. And I said to him, "Of course, sir. I've been, obviously delighted. Do you want to come with Her Majesty and the Duke, or do you want to come and be part of the home team?" And so there is another photograph which doesn't see the light of day very often, of him and me in the street outside our offices waiting for his mother and father to arrive.
Nice. Awesome. All right, let's see who else is in. Tails, hey, good evening. Victoria tuning in from North Wales, just got home from Beavers. Excellent. Star, happy to see my mentor.
Ooh.
Star Journey Farm. Hello. Jonathan's tuning in. Hello there. Gustavo from Brazil International. Karen, good evening, Mark and John. My eldest has just received his invite to Buck Palace for his DV Gold presentation. So excited to be one of his guests.
Oh, that's absolutely brilliant. I'm really, really glad he's achieved his gold, and that presentations are happening again. So that's absolutely wonderful news.
John, what happens at Buck Palace on the presentation then?
Well, it happens not just at Buckingham Palace, but St James's Palace as well, and also in Scotland and in Northern Ireland. There are opportunities for young people who've achieved their goals in the United Kingdom to go along with one guest, because unfortunately there isn't room for people to bring more than one. And they will have a presenter who is often a celebrity, who will actually give out the certificates because all the young people are already wearing their badges. But then a member of the royal family, and more often than not, it's the Earl of Wessex, will then move from room to room or group to group if it's in the garden at Buckingham Palace, to meet young people and their guests and congratulate them. And it's
Awesome.
a really, really awesome and lovely thing to do.
I bet.
But it's worth saying that, you know, it doesn't just happen in the United Kingdom. The Duke of Edinburgh's award is in Duke of Edinburgh's International Award is in 130 countries and territories and realms around the world. And Gold Award presentations happen in many, many, many of those countries as well.
Nice.
And it's just brilliant to often see the president of a country being the person who will award a young person their Gold Award. It's a real privilege to see it.
I bet. John, have you ever been to Ontario, Canada? You ever done any scouting there?
Yeah, I've been in Toronto on a few occasions, and spoke at the Canadian Scouts Canada's youth forum about 8 or 9 years ago. Was really lucky enough to talk to them about leadership. It was really fun. Yeah,
excellent. Silver and Scouts from Essex. Hello, mate.
Tells
us. Say again.
I've been to Essex.
I'm not going to ask. So, John, here you go. Is this a scarf or a necker?
Oh, well, it depends. You can call it what you like. Is the answer.
There you go. Tells is asking, has your bear got a knacker on?
Yeah,
I'm hoping that's a spelling mistake.
It's definitely not a knacker. Yes, he is wearing a scarf. He's wearing my old UK scarf.
Lovely.
So yeah.
Cool. Kieran is in the house. Hey, Kieran. Would he like one of our campfire books?
I'm sure he'd be absolutely delighted. He's read Cubs to the Rescue on a number of occasions.
He needs a new book. Good evening, John. Long time since we last met in the woods in Russia.
Oh, hello, Neil. How lovely to hear from you.
That's a story. That's a story, isn't it?
Well, we really did meet in the woods in Russia. So Neil was leading an amazing group of young people on an expedition to Russia. And I was visiting to do some stuff with young people in Russia who were setting up scouting after Perestroika and Glasnost. And I just spent, I think, 10 days in Moscow with a young person, and then went off to St. Petersburg, where Neil and his young people were. And I turned up out of nowhere. I think I'm right in saying Neil wasn't expecting me. And I let him know that the International Commissioner for the UK Scouts went and visited every single international camp personally in order to make sure that the forms had been filled in properly. But it was great. I had a wonderful 3 or 4 days camping with Neil and the team. It was really lovely.
Awesome. We've just found out that Star Journey Farm is Omar from Gambia. Omar, hey.
Right. Mr. Jatta. Good to see you.
Excellent. All right. John, have you ever been to Wigan? It's the hub of the DV providing grounds.
I have. I can tell you, I've been to Wigan on a number of occasions, and I've even been to the pier. So poor old Wigan Pier. I'm not sure it's still operating as an attraction. But years ago, it was absolutely amazing, and they had a Victorian schoolroom where a friend of mine had a job as being a Victorian school teacher, and used to spend every day with classes of kids coming in pretending to be Victorians. It was brilliant.
Yeah. I think I did one of those in Reading when I was.
I think it's done in lots of school, lots of museums around the country. But
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, this one, John. Where are we?
Well, it looks like I'm in Romania. Just because I can read the
words.
So I guess I'm talking to young people in Romania. Lots of people imagine that the Duke of Edinburgh's award would only be happening in Commonwealth countries, perhaps, but that's simply not true. It's growing extremely fast because it's got some amazing leaders and volunteers running programs for young people, and Romania is one of our fastest growing nations. Really,
wow,
really
awesome. New Zealand, that's definitely on the tick. John's been there. Update: sadly, the Wigan Pier is no longer a tourist attraction. There we go. Thanks
Oh,
very
but he
much.
has been in the Victorian schoolroom. Yeah. All right. And just rub it in that it was when you were a cub, which makes it suitably old.
All right, let's find another random photo. What is this one all about, John? Oops, wrong one.
Thanks for that. I discovered outdoor swimming over lockdown.
Oh wow!
I think that speaks for itself, really. I look like a beach whale.
People are saying the Victorian teachers at Wigan Pier were generally terrifying to a 9-year-old.
I bet they were.
I bet. So, John, just a question: D&V, lots of you do it in school, and scouting. They're kind of similar, aren't they? If you're doing your Chief Scout goal, there's quite a lot that cross over. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. I mean, the thing about the Duke of Edinburgh Award is that it's not a membership organisation. It's really just two things. It's a framework, which describes what we think young people should have the right to do outside the classroom in order to help their learning, and it's a way of accrediting and celebrating their achievements. And so you can use that framework in any number of different environments. And you're absolutely right. About 80% of awards are earned by young people through their schools around the world. But the other 20% is made up of, certainly scouting and guiding are enormous supporters and runners of the award around the world. But you can also find the award being run in hospitals. You can find it being run in orphanages. You can find it being run on the on the platform of Delhi railway station with street children. You can find it in prisons and youth offender institutions. You can find it in premier football clubs. Anywhere where young people gather and there are adults who are prepared to act as their mentors, you can do your award. Awesome. And that's, that makes it a really wonderful tool for scouting to use, often in countries where there aren't very many resources. And so the resources that a scout organization does have tend to be put into working with young people. The award can be adopted by a scout organization and used, and people will know that there's a quality program there being offered to young adults.
But what's the purpose of the Duke of Edinburgh Award? What is it? If you had to kind of write a Twitter, whatever, how many characters it is in Twitter?
It's to help young people find their purpose, their passion, and their place in the world.
I reckon you've been asked that before, haven't you?
Might have been.
All right, question for you. Where's John's favourite place has it been, and who had the best campfire night?
Oh, gosh. Right. Favourite place is, of course, a place where I'm currently visiting. That's always the case. But if I'm really, really honest, and I'm really sorry to Omar in the Gambia, because I'm going to disappoint him now, my favourite place that I've ever visited and keep going back to is Uganda. I first visited there 25, 30 years ago with the UK Scouts when we were planning to run a major program with UNICEF to help with child immunization and AIDS awareness, long before development education was trendy. And we worked with the Uganda Scouts and UNICEF to create a program called Unite, which was really, really special. And Uganda was the first place out of Europe that I'd ever visited. And I got my feet dirty with African soil. And I've never been able to get the dust off the bottom of my shoes. I have to go back. And some of my greatest friends live in Uganda and scout and indeed run the award in some really challenging circumstances for some. And I think really make a massive difference to young people's lives. So that's probably the country where I feel emotionally most drawn. And as for the best campfire, probably Cranham in Gloucestershire, when I was an 11-year-old scout, and experiencing a campfire for the very first time, and nothing beats the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. John, are you tea or coffee drinker?
Coffee.
Oh, damn.
Sorry, that's easy.
I was going to ask you.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I can tell you that it would be D2.
D2, yeah, okay. Yeah, nice. Sugar?
No.
Sweet enough.
Well, I don't know about that, but enough sugar goes inside me in other ways to ensure that I don't need sugar in my tea.
Are you partial to a biscuit?
I would be partial to a biscuit, yes.
What about this one?
Well, my favourite isn't there. That's a shame, because it's really got to be a chocolate hobnob. But if I had to choose from those, it would be the Jammy Dodger number C.
Yeah, Jammy Dodger. Nice. Good. All right, let's see any more questions. In Missouri, it is freezing rain and 15 to 25 centimeters of snow.
Woo! Well, we're due to have 30 centimeters of snow in the north of the United Kingdom over the next day or so. So, same storm, I guess.
Yeah, it must be. Right. So, I got a massive crush on Bear Grylls. Everyone knows that. My wife knows it. Big man crush on Bear Grylls. Who has been your favorite Chief Scout?
Okay. I guess
this is just between me and you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, every Chief Scout is my favorite Chief Scout. But it would be, it would be a guy called Garth Morrison. Garth took an amazing risk with me, and invited me to become the UK's international commissioner when I was in my mid-20s, which at that time was very, very young for a headquarters volunteer. Yeah, I mean, Garth was really, really special. He was my Chief Scout.
Yeah.
How it all happened was really bizarre. I was at a national conference for UK Scouting, and I was one of the, at that time, I'm afraid, token young people, and we were encouraged to go into working groups and listen to the great and the good in UK Scouting talking about what should go on. And I may have opened my mouth a little bit too much in one working group, and I may have been quite strong in my views, enough for one of the commissioners in the room to say, "Laddie, when I was your age, young people were seen and not heard." Anyway, he made a complaint about me, and I thought that probably my scouting career was over, and I was absolutely certain that this was the case when I heard that I had to go and have breakfast with Garth, the Chief Scout, the following morning. And I thought, oh crikey, here we go. So I put my uniform on and thought, well, it's been fun, but hey, being cub leader is good too. Anyway, I sat down to breakfast, and Garth said, "We've had a few people talking about you." And I said, "Oh, I see. Oh dear." And he went, "Yeah. A number of us think you'd be a really great ambassador for UK Scouting. So would you like to be our next international commissioner?" Which was not the question that I was expecting.
Yeah. So what role would you really love to do in scouting? Chief Scout, would you do that?
Nah. I've had the chance to do some pretty amazing things in scouting, and I'm getting to a point now where I increasingly am delighted to see much younger people taking leadership roles and moving the movement on. Scouting should be, I think, a young person's game supported by others more experienced, well behind the scenes. And I'm really delighted to be doing what I'm doing at the moment as chair of trustees and helping with the governance of the charity here in Oxfordshire. But in due course, somebody else will take on that role, and that will be absolutely brilliant too. And I can continue to enjoy doing bits and pieces to support leaders and help with programs and so on and so forth in any way that I might be useful.
Do you think you could go back to a group?
I don't think I could on a weekly basis. I don't think I have the time to be able to commit to that anymore. And I know we talk a lot about flexible volunteering, and I'm all in favor of that. So maybe supporting a group in a flexible way is a real possibility. Sadly, I don't live in Gloucestershire anymore. I'm delighted to live in Oxfordshire, but my nephew was invested last night as a scout in his local scout group, and it was really clear from looking at the live stream of Rory making his promise halfway up a climbing wall in Gloucester. Because that's, of course, where you should make your promise. That group is just doing the most amazing things with young people. Awesome. It's awesome to see that happening in communities, not just in this country, but all over the world.
Excellent. And he said you always got the time. It's only an hour a week, John.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
But you're flying everywhere.
It's just which hour you choose is the challenge.
Exactly. So controversial question, John. Squirrels. Yep. Yes, no. Do you agree with it? Is it a good thing?
No, absolutely yes. I was fortunate enough to be involved with the early days of beaver scouting, and we were told that children between the age of 6 and 8 were far too young to be able to enjoy scouting, and there was no way that they would be able to understand the commitment that they were making. And basically this was just play school and all the sorts of comments that you've heard in the last few months about squirrels. Now, I think it's perfectly true to say that squirrels doesn't look like what a scout troop looks like. Squirrels looks like squirrels. But the idea that non-formal education and learning, which is what we're really talking about, can be undertaken with young children. We know that having experiences like we're going to give kids in squirrels is absolutely critical to children's development. The challenge for us is that although many kids get those naturally, many children live in communities where it's really hard to access those sorts of activities. And unless there are volunteers who are going to provide them, then those kids will never, ever catch up and will be living through a deficit. And that's just desperately sad. So, I mean, I think Squirrels is the most wonderful initiative. Awesome. And I'm right behind it. But I would say quite a long way behind it, because the idea of actually being a squirrel leader terrifies me.
Yeah, I agree. Beavers, I can't even do beavers, but I've got one squirrel in my house. Like, easy enough. John, you're always welcome to come visit me in Gloucestershire. Ange,
thank you, Ange. That's really kind.
Harold's saying they said that about beavers, and I've been around before they started lots of growing pains.
Yeah, and I think that's all right. I mean, the other thing is, let's not imagine that everything has to be perfect the moment you start it. Yeah. I think things do evolve, and I mean, if we look at beaver scouting, I think we've learned loads and loads and loads over the period that beavers have been operating. We learned lots from folks around the world who were ahead of us. In Canada, for instance, and of course in Northern Ireland, where beavers had been running a long time in advance of the rest of the country. But we're now in a position where we know that young people, that children of 7 years old, love being outside, love camping, love the opportunity to go and get muddy and dirty. Why wouldn't they?
Everyone loves a bit of mud. I kind of agree with what Mark's just saying here on the screen, John. I'm a GSL as well, and it's great to have squirrels, but adults, getting those adults.
Yeah, and of course it's a challenge, and it's always been a challenge to find adults to support scout groups. I think the piece that I guess I'm optimistic about is that you wouldn't find me running a squirrel tray. But there will be loads and loads of parents and other adults who would not countenance at this stage the idea of supporting a troop or even working with a Cub Scout pack, but who would be delighted if asked to come along and be part of Squirrels.
Yeah.
And I think it's recognizing that just because it is challenging to find leaders always, but they don't have to be the same adults working with each section.
Yeah.
So it's definitely or the same sort of adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Club leaders weren't thrilled about it back then.
Yeah.
Were you anti-Beavers then, John?
No, I wasn't.
You were pro.
I was really pro.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was for a period of time. I was the assistant district commissioner for Beaver Scouts in the early days of the section in where I was living at that time as a young teacher in Staffordshire. No, I don't know. I mean, I've always felt that scouting's an idea, isn't it? And it's a set of values, and that doesn't have to be limited to a particular age, in my opinion.
No, love it. That's a good one. John, is that a trophy on the top of the cupboard behind you, and what's it for?
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I'm just looking in my own screen. It is. Hang on. I don't know.
He doesn't even know he's got a trophy there. Let's see. Yeah.
Oh,
he can't show that.
I can. It's a gift from a class that I taught, and it says thank you for being a super teacher.
Oh, lovely. Do you miss teaching?
Yeah, sometimes. I'm not sure I miss it very much. I don't. Well, I certainly don't miss the extraordinary administration that and paperwork that teachers have to do now. I would find that very, very challenging, I think.
Yeah, and then my wife's a secondary school teacher, and paperwork. Summer holidays she probably has the same amount of annual leave that I do, to be honest, and not much holiday, and working late in the evenings and stuff. So, yeah, teachers.
Teachers are pretty amazing people.
Yeah. Don't tell my wife I agree with you. John, are you partial to a small? Do you like a small?
No. I mean, why would you ruin a marshmallow by having it with anything else? So yeah, the idea of sticking a marshmallow in between a couple of biscuits does not appeal to me at all. However, number 3 is about right.
Just lightly toasted. Run it as a babysitting service. Some parents need a couple of hours off from their kids, and it would help them mentally, I would have thought.
Yeah, now that. Do you know, Tails, that's really, really interesting, because I've seen on social media lots and lots of people getting quite het up about the idea that scouting in general is a cheap babysitting service, and getting angry with parents who see it that way. I'm not sure I feel terribly worried about that. I think that parents have just as much right as anybody else for a couple of hours off. Now, sometimes they might be persuaded to come and get involved themselves and act as leaders too. That's fine. But the idea that scouting provides the service of young people and children having some time away from their parents with their mates doing something different feels okay to me.
Yeah. I'm laughing at the next question, John.
Oh, right.
Apologies in advance. Terry's asking, have the water balls finished digging up your road?
Yes, they have. But much more worryingly, the fight in the road out, the fight in the village about the building of a footpath on the road outside my house continues.
Oh yes.
And Terry will know what I'm talking about, but or I imagine he will, but others will have to find me on Facebook to know the story.
There's a question for you. Where's Blenheim tonight?
Blenheim's my cat, and I did hear him yowling, but I suspect he's probably sitting by the fire now.
Ah, nice. Right, any more? Let's see. Any more questions, guys? Any more? If you want to ask John anything about scouting, DFE, maybe there's lots of questions on the social internet about asking about DFE questions. It's the man. You've got John now to ask you straight away all those questions. Terry is smiling. I want to see. Have I got another question? This is the most random question. I can't remember who we asked this to. I'm not sure who that was. We asked that one to someone.
Triangle.
Obviously. Harold is asking, in Canada, helping out once in a while was okay for Mum, but no uniform. 40 years later, knowing Lady BP and Lady Clay. Nice. Most unusual DV residential you have heard about?
Oh my goodness.
Most unusual. Love it. Good question there, Karen.
Most unusual DV residential. I'm trying to think around the world. I guess I'm gonna dodge this one actually, and because I can't think of particular residentials, but I can talk about what internationally we call adventurous journeys, and in this country we know as expeditions. The young people in Papua, which is part of Indonesia, have pretty much an expedition every day when they go to school. I mean, to the point of having to climb over trees and go through tropical rainforests and so on and so forth to get to school. And so when we were talking to their youth leaders about what you were going to do an adventurous journey or an expedition, we had to turn the whole concept absolutely on its head. Because frankly, there was no challenge to young people to say to them, go plan yourself an expedition in the wild. So what we did instead was that those young people did their adventurous journey in Jakarta, the capital city of Indonesia, in an urban environment. And these young people, who many of whom had of course been in cars, but cars and transport were not a normal everyday activity.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, learning to use the bus timetable and so on was not something that they were used to doing. Came and planned an urban adventure, and it was very, very cool.
That is really thinking outside the box.
Well, it's about saying what do you really want to get out of the expedition. In my view, the expedition, the DV expedition, and I would also say, many of the things we do through scouting are not about teaching you to survive in the wild. What they're about doing is about taking you and your friends out of your immediate comfort zone whilst keeping you safe, and getting you to cope with and learn about resilience, and learn about making decisions together, and sometimes getting things right and sometimes getting things wrong, and being at the edge, I guess, the edge of your comfort zone. So if that's the case, then you don't have to do that by yomping up a hill. There are other ways to do that too and meet the same educational objectives.
Love it. Can a national SASU adopt DFE?
That's a very good question. There is a national SASU that runs DV support for scouting. And I think what I'd do is I'd want to direct you towards them to find out more. And the reason I'm being slightly vague is that as soon as we start talking about rules to do with a specific National Scout organization or a specific award operator, I'm out of my comfort zone. because as Secretary General of the award worldwide, it's not my job to make or pontificate on behalf of any particular operator. So it would be a case of talk to DV UK, talk to the UK Scouts, and come to a decision.
Nice. Duke of Edinburgh versus Chief Scout.
I don't. It depends what you're talking about, Tranta.
Yeah,
I mean, that could be
boxing match. I don't know.
Yeah. Mud wrestling. I don't know.
Mud wrestling. Yeah, you could do answer that in London today. Favorite troops thing you have around your necks.
Okay. So I think probably tonight, because he was invested last night, it's a blue and white scarf from the Minchinhampton Scout Group in Stratton Deptbury District in Gloucestershire. But if I were looking at my own collection, this one's nice. This is from the Boy Scouts of America, and shows the different regions of the world, which is rather lovely. And I'm proud to say that I have an Oxfordshire scarf. So it's not a troop scarf, but it's still it's our county scarf, and I like to wear that at big international events, because people say, "What's that then?" And I can say, "Oh, that's from Oxfordshire." So.
Opening question. Nice. Dan, great interview. Got things to finish prepping for tomorrow's troop night and a Zoom call with WT with scouts from Poland and Sri Lanka. And so
brilliant.
On Saturday. Lovely. Beautiful. Awesome. John, are you attending to go to Korea next year? And how do you enthuse that experience across the movement?
Well, if I'm lucky enough to be invited, yes, certainly. I will. I guess to have a role of some kind, supporting the Jamboree. I've been lucky enough to be involved in a few. I'll probably visit as a day visitor anyway. There are a few of us who are getting very long in the tooth, who have been involved in international scouting for many, many years, and we like to get together socially, and one of the ways we can do that is by coming together every 4 years at the World Scout Jamboree as visitors, and so we may well have the opportunity to do that. In terms of infusing that experience and the experience of the World Jamboree around the movement, the best way to do it is to ask young people who have been to talk about the experiences that they've had and the leaders who've taken them. But also, I would say to recognize that World Scout Jamborees are just one international experience. There are so many ways that young people can get an understanding of what it's like to be part of a worldwide family. And it is an extraordinary family. I mean, I really don't know anything like it. And there are ways of doing that in your own troop, in your own pack, I dare say even in your own dray, but whether it's going and doing it's going to an international camp in your own country, or whether it's having the opportunity to go one abroad. There is one experience I'd love to just big up in UK scouting that I think doesn't get enough airtime, and that's something called the Explorer Belt, suitable for older young people. And is really about a mixture of expedition and culture, and it is, without going into enormous detail about it, the idea of setting challenges or being set challenges to undertake in a very small group in a foreign country, and moving under your own pace and so on and so forth, and really getting underneath the skin of the culture of another country, I think is immensely exciting. And if you don't know a lot about it, Google it, look it up, and get support from your own Assistant County Commissioner International or somebody equivalent in your part of the UK. The Explorer Belt is just brilliant.
Good. Can the DOV requirements be adapted for people with physical disabilities? I'm in Canada. Should I contact the DOV Canada?
The answer is yes and yes. The whole point about the Duke of Edinburgh international award is that it should be truly accessible. And what that means is about making adaptations that keeps it as a real challenge for the young person involved, and accommodates those young people's needs. So it's absolutely able to be to have accommodations added in a variety of different ways, without changing the challenge for that individual. And yes, talk to the DV International office in Toronto, and they will be only too delighted to support you. Their national director is a man called Stephen DeWint, and he's a star.
So is that like I could name a country and you could tell us who is head of DV? Are we playing that game?
Let's not.
All right, guys, we're coming up to 45 minutes. We've got 5 more minutes with John. So if you've got any more questions, burning questions about his international stories, that'll be really good. John, have you got pen and paper with you?
I can have.
Go on. I'm going to get pen and paper as well. Let's play. Guys, if you're playing at home, I'm going to run a little badge quiz. So grab pen and paper as well. And I think you need to number 1 to 10.
This feels like being back at school.
Right, 1 to 10 on a bit of paper. If you've
got that,
the phone, don't on the phone. Right, hopefully this will work. Scout is to be promised. Trust me, I have not seen this at all. I've just loaded it up tonight. Hopefully.
These are badges.
Huh?
These are badges, are they?
These are badges from around the world.
Not our hope. Not our hope.
Right, guys. So Max, my fellow co-host over at First YouTubers, sent me this, and I thought I would save this for so long to do it with the international man, John May.
This is really embarrassing.
I'm guessing country. All right.
All right. I'm going to guess that one.
Okay. Guys, if you're playing at home, it's only one. Well, maybe. Are we allowed 2 guesses, John? What do you think?
I think you can have as many guesses as you like, as long as you don't get more right than I do.
2.
Ooh.
Why is that? That's a satellite, isn't it? Okay. Okay. Right, guys. Don't comment.
Are we guessing countries or
countries? I think. I'm hoping. Otherwise, I played this game wrong. No, this can't be countries, can it? This has got to be the exact badge. Yeah, I think Max has put it as a badge rather than countries. All right. Let's go back to 1. Okay, let's go back to 1. Okay. Right, number 1. Number 2. Right, guys, don't comment in the chat. Just write it down on a bit of paper. Or you might be able to help us if we're asking for help. That's number 3. Number 4. Ah. Okay. If we get that one wrong, John.
Oh, I will. I'll get that one wrong.
Okay. Okay, number 5, number 6.
What is that? Hello, Blenheim.
Ah, there's Blenheim. I have no idea what that is. Have you got any idea, John?
No.
No. Good. Okay.
Okay.
Number 7 is that one. Number 8. Okay.
Okay.
You got that one, John?
I think so.
Number 9. What is that cheese rolling? I don't.
Nah.
I don't know. This that is a complete guess. That one. Last one. Okay. All right. John, you can have one more if you want to flick back to one badge just to have a recap. Did you want to look over another badge, guys? How are we doing?
I want to look at badge 6 again.
Badge 6, you can do that. Badge. I have no idea that one.
I'm really interested in that one.
Right, that's it. Right, guys, at home, if you're playing along, well done. I hope I've got 10. I've got
Yeah, I've got 10 answers.
I've got 10.
10
right.
answers is,
Here we go. The answers. Right.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one was the Joey Challenge Awards, Australia.
Yeah, I did actually get that one.
Okay. Next one. Oh, yes, I got that one.
Yes,
Space.
Yes. I said science in space.
So okay. Yeah, you mentioned the word space. Tracking. I had tracking. No, that was dance.
I had tracking too, but dance, I can see why that would be dance scoutcraft. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, number 4 was Camp Warden. Oh. I had outdoor cooking.
Yeah, I had camping.
Oh, number 5.
Oh, I was right. Excellent.
Oh, damn.
Yes,
I put energy. Damn. Oh, John, look at number 6. I put boating. I have no idea what number 7, Scout Physical. Yep, good. 8. It's in the community challenge.
Yes, got that one. But I'm cheating because I was vaguely involved in helping that.
All right then. Number 9 was inventing.
Yes. Yeah, got that.
And number 10, campcraft.
Yes.
Oh, damn, I put fire safety. Oh, okay. Maybe I shouldn't have played that game.
Okay. How many did you get? Because I'm competitive, of course. Because
2.
7. Thank you very much.
7. Oh man. That was good, Max. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed that game. That was a good game. Right, guys. Last question coming in from Omar. What is the most challenging thing you've had to do? What you've done, and that you're not sure will happen? What is the most challenging thing which you have done that you are not sure will happen?
I think probably that was making the big leap of faith to take on that very, very first leadership role when I was
such a young age,
19 years old, as a cub leader. I really wasn't sure what was going to happen as a result of that.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty exciting adventure ever since. And that does sound a little bit twee, but I really, the thing is that I'm speaking to, for those that don't know, this is Omar Jatta, who's writing, and Omar is in the Gambia.
Yeah.
And is one of the most entrepreneurial, inspiring, amazing people involved in scouting in the world today.
Getting his farm and all the things he's doing for the community has just been.
It's just stunning. And he will teach all of us what seize the day, carpe diem, really means. And I would say always seize an opportunity, because you never know where it's going to go. And you don't want to be in a position where you're sitting 5 years down the line going, "Oh, I wish I did." Because you can always stop. You can always stop, but starting is the thing to try.
And John, I not just teach my scouts that, I teach my kids that as well, and that has got me where it has today. I had a dream when I was about 10 that I was going to do radio, and I remember summer holidays, I used to open my bedroom window, put the speaker next to it, and I used to pretend I was on BBC One Roadshow live on wherever seaside. Yeah, I used to play music and stuff like that. And it was my dream to be on radio.
Your neighbours must have loved you.
And there was no PRS license or nothing. Play whatever you want to do. And I thought, I need to get on radio. That's what I want to do. And it was. Things happen for a reason, don't they? I'm a big believer of that. I was working in a hospital. I signed up to hospital radio. I was doing that. No one listened. Honestly, I'd done it for years. No one tuned in. Nothing. We used to make up requests and all sorts of things. But one day, the producer for Heart FM was a patient, And he tuned in and he called the hospital radio and was like, "Oh, hello, Mark." And I would nearly swore and told him, it's one of my mates, like, and he invited me down to go and see him. And from that day, I let in to go meet him. I worked on Heart FM. I worked on Capital. I done a whole load of radio stuff, massive stuff I used to do on radio. I had my own breakfast show, drive time. It was amazing. I was working at a hospital doing my daytime job, and then radio at night. I was absolutely knackered, but it was great for those kind of 15 years of me doing professional radio. And I loved it, but I was not being at home. My wife was getting annoyed. I was spending weekends DJing and meet and greets and stuff. It was great to go to concerts and stuff like that, but I thought, you know what I want to do is see if I could do it. And I don't want to, like you were just saying, me in the rocking chair with my grandchildren going, if only I tried doing hospital. I want to do the radio and wish I tried. And if you don't try those things, isn't it? It's about, like you were saying earlier on, about pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. Mm-hmm. If you don't try it, it's never going to happen. And maybe I didn't go on radio and whatever, but I was lucky enough to be on radio. It was amazing, but I could have just gone, actually, nah, let's take the easy route and not try and push yourselves out, And
yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think there are hundreds of thousands of young people around the world who just need an adult to say to them, "Yeah, all right, give it a go, see what happens."
Yep.
And whether that adult is Omar or whether that adult was, a 19-year-old me in Bristol, or whether it's an adult working with a young person in Papua,
yep.
Somebody who'll believe in you, somebody who'll say, "Have a go,"
yep.
And somebody who will support you is what makes everybody able to do just that little bit more. I don't want to end on being really twee, but this is the amazing thing about the Scout movement, I think, is that we do the most extraordinary things for 60 million or more young people around the world, and they get to do the most exciting and brilliant things, but they get to do them because there are adults who are willing to give up their time and spend their emotional capital on helping young people get the most out of life. That's pretty cool, really.
Yeah, it is great. It is great. And just ignore social media. There's loads of things on social media. People are always negative about scouting. And even it's amazing that scout leaders are negative about scouting. And I don't understand that, And I think we're all volunteers, aren't we? We don't get paid for this. So let's just try and work as a team and share and help each other out. What I don't get about a certain Facebook site that can be so negative. Just
there's that bit of advice that I think I'm getting better at following, which is be kind. Most wonderful things happen through kindness, and we just need to take a deep breath and be kind.
Absolutely. I have a question in my hand and it's gone. Anyway,
right.
Never mind. Last question of the night then, John. Campfire, we're sitting around it for 1 hour. You can pick anybody, dead or alive. Who are you going to pick?
I would love to. I'd love to sit with William Shakespeare. Yeah. I would just find a conversation with somebody with that use of language and that imagination and that outrageous political humor. Really fascinating to spend time with.
I have the question back in my head.
Oh,
I wouldn't. For me, that answer to the campfire is my granddad. Sadly, he passed away when I was
that's
kind
good.
Of like
that's
10, 11. So I kind of knew a little bit about him, but Yeah, it would be great to just as a
Yeah.
man, and just to see, I don't know, be great. John, the question I had in my head, Baden Powell, would he still see scouting as it is today? Would that still be his vision, do you think? Would he still recognize BP?
Yes.
Would he still?
Yes. He wrote, he wrote that thing, didn't he, about for goodness sake, don't become an organization because it's a movement and all that sort of stuff. Which
exactly.
I show the world organization was always a bit of a tough thing to do. But of course, he was a man of his time, and of course, he was a flawed individual, as we all are. But he had this vision for young people, which was about them being able to make the most of their potential. He had a vision that was about young people making a simple promise and commitment to their communities, and to their faith, if they had one, and having fun and learning about leadership and learning about where they fit. And if he were to come along to any scout group, he would recognize the same things today as 100 and X years ago. I don't believe that scouting should be kept in aspic, but equally, I don't believe that there is any one true route to what good scouting can look like. One of the things I've been quoted on over the years is something I said a few years ago, which was good scouting looks different wherever you see it. Bad scouting usually looks the same. I'm not actually sure what that means. It sounded quite clever at the time, but I think at the heart of it is there is no single route to what good scouting looks like.
And we all do it differently.
But when you see it, and you see the look on young people's faces, and you see the impact that it's having on young people's lives, their parents and carers' lives, their communities' lives, whether that's in Wigan, or whether it's in a completely different community. It's just a really, really clever thing.
It is good.
He was a very clever, very, very clever guy.
He was, and look at it where it is now. It's changed, it's revolutionary as well, isn't it? And it's joined all the people together around the world. Well, John, we've touched. Well, it's an hour flown past. So many questions we could have asked, and lots of comments and stuff. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and John, thank you very much for taking up an hour of your evening. It's been great. And you got to keep us updated about the house and the river and the path. John, how can people stay in touch with you?
On social, it's at John C.C. May, and you can find me on most platforms.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much, and don't forget, I'll be back next Thursday from 6:30. Until then, guys, thank you once again to John, and all the best, John. Take care, man.
Thanks, Mark. Bye now.